Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we will explore the cause and effect of just saying yes in your everyday life or in business. I will dig into topics that are not just stimulating, but will challenge you to be better in everything you do. The podcast is based on the simplicity of saying yes to opportunities you might encounter every single day. I'm your host, Jim Riley. Join me in my first series titled Blue Collar Redefined. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support and all your comments about our shows. Last week we had Pilar Lastra basically picked up her bags and drove straight to California. If you didn't hear her show, I've gotten a lot of great feedback from it. Please check it out. We still have a lot of really good shows if you haven't went back. Episode number 6 with Michael Lee, the man that took his yo-yo to the White House more than once and created a business with his skill, is one of our top shows. And then our very first show outside of my introduction is Mr. Danger, from beauty school to barbershop, capped off with a music tattoo festival and 23,000 fans. That is our top performing show. So check it out. I am so excited about this week and what I've been up to and the interview coming up right after this introduction. I spent a wonderful weekend down in Baja with my lovely wife, a little bit of a date night. We went down to an annual event in La Bufadora, Mai Tai Nights. Had a wonderful time, but we also enjoyed some craft beer and talked about wine with a bunch of people and really just enjoyed our time. So if you have not been down to Baja yet, please make the trip down. Check out the wine valley and everything that's going on there. We'd love to give you some helpful hints on how to do that. There's also some great breweries down there like Transpeninsular and several others within that area. I know you would enjoy it. You can check out our Baja Sessions shows that come out on Mondays if you need some advice, where to go, things from insurance, where not to go, and how to have a good time. So anyways, it's there for you to check out. Baja United, we talk about that on Baja Sessions too. Things are going wonderful. We've got an investment round open right now. So if you want to get in, you can own some shares. $5 a share. Minimum investment's $100. Just go to startengine.com, look for Baja United Wines, and you'll be able to see all that stuff. And then finally, on the personal stuff, I'm still training hard for Spartan Racing. Got my big event in September for the big ultra run. Ultra Beast is what they call it. It's 30 miles, 70 obstacles. If you're not familiar, check out Spartan Racing via Google. They have an incredible following. You know, I've met some of the best people. Mark and Christy Nealon, they're out in New Jersey. We stay in contact. Kevin Gelati, one of the top elite racers. Michael, who is on our show, number 6, Michael Lee, he's out there every weekend. It's just a great community. If you're looking for something to do as a couple or as an individual or even as a family, check out Spartan Racing. It's really, really a good time. The theme for the week, in my mind, is good people, and not just because I will be interviewing a very special person to me, but I just think being good pays huge dividends to being good to others and treating people with kindness and always putting your best foot forward. As Gary Vee talks about, putting the value out first, offering something up, or David Meltzer always talks about value for value. And I've just been so rewarded since I started this podcast to hear from people, be able to help some people, mentor them through some tough times. And it's just been probably more rewarding for me than it has been for them. And I've really enjoyed the process. So thank you so much. You guys know who you are, and I appreciate you listening. All right, today's show, I am interviewing Mark Taylor. He is the COO of In-N-Out Burger. You probably saw from the title. Now, most people don't realize that Mark Taylor is my brother, lifelong. We're actually stepbrothers from the age of 5 on, so I don't know any different. But he has been, and I didn't say this on the show, but he's been my own personal mentor in business and really in life. He's so full of wisdom. He's so kind and loving and has always absolutely, without a doubt, been there for me. And to be able to do this interview with him, this is probably the most important interview I'll ever do in my life just because of what he means to me and what he's done for me. But what's crazy about the interview is I know him very well, but I learned a lot from asking business questions, things that I wouldn't normally ask him around the dinner table or Christmas holidays or with the kids running around. We talked about business and his philosophy and how he manages in his best day ever. And what he really likes about his job, and it just blew me away. I'm so excited to bring it to you. The show went super long, so I'll apologize up front. We cut it in half, so half show this week, the other half next week. And he's very soft-spoken, so if you are typically listening to this on your iPod headset out in the mountains riding your mountain bike, you're probably not going to hear it real well. So find a good environment in your car, maybe on your way to work or somewhere you can really hear, and that way you don't miss a word. But I'm just thrilled to bring this interview to you, not only for people that I want to get off their butts, BUT''S, and get out there and do something, but for the executives and the business leaders and the managers that are out there listening to this show. I think he gives some incredible wisdom, and I am so happy to bring that to you through my brother, Mark Taylor, COO of In-N-Out Burger. So without dragging this on forever, I'm going to turn it over to that interview we had just the other day at his house. He's just so kind and wanted to do this for me. So enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast. This is probably my most anticipated, stressful, wanting to do interview of all of my shows that I've done in the past and all the ones I'll do in the future probably. I'm here with my brother, Mark Taylor. Morning, Mark.
Hey, Jim. It's good to be with you. Congratulations on doing this.
So,
awesome.
Yeah, and thanks for being willing to come on. So Mark Taylor is the Chief Operating Officer for In-N-Out Burger and has been there for a very long time. And I think that the wisdom that you bring to the show is incredible for our listeners, and the purpose of The Answer is Yes. And that's why I've anticipated doing this for so long, because I know your history so well, but our listeners don't. And I'd love to get your story on the record and share that with others and allow them to think about what you've done and the success that you've had. So listeners, as you hear this, remember the end story is Mark is currently the Chief Operating Officer for In-N-Out Burger. How many employees do you guys have over there now?
Oh, my gosh. It's 24,000, I think.
24,000 employees.
Yeah, I think it's somewhere close to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Arguably the most important fast food. Do you guys call it fast food or quality? What is the definition of In-N-Out?
Well, it's kind of quality food served fast, but probably, it's fair to say fast food. We don't use that term, but that's what everybody's
a quick service restaurant. I mean, yes. We don't have to argue about the quality of In-N-Out Burger, but I would say arguably probably one of the most important restaurants in the United States, if not the world, for what you guys have created since 1948 and the reputation around the world. I know you guys ship your T-shirts everywhere, right?
Everywhere. It's amazing how you can be in another country and see an In-N-Out T-shirt. I have seen that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I bet.
Feels good.
I bet. Quite the legacy. Well, with that being said, because that's the end of the story, let's hear the beginning of the story, because I'm intimate with your background. But, as kids, you're 3 years older than me, so I didn't know what you were up to every single day of the week, but I do know for a fact that you started working at a really young age. Do you remember what that was and what you were doing?
I started working for our grandfather, Jack. As soon as I could take direction, I was being sent down to stay the summer with him, so I give mom and dad maybe some relief. So I think it's probably around 12 years old where I could take good direction and actually help out. So the spring break for a week and maybe a good 10 weeks in the summer for sure. I would spend time working with our grandfather at the Quickie Burger.
Yeah.
And that's where I learned about customer service. And one thing about our grandfather, Jack, he was amazing when it came to the philosophy of customer service and just how to take care of the customer, and the customer's king and all that good stuff.
So just for clarity, he had a restaurant that was serving sandwiches and hamburgers on Balboa Island. What was that, the early 80s?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember what your first days were like? So here you are, 12, maybe you're probably 12 years old, going to, what was it like your first days?
Well, I would say that it actually kind of started in the 70s at the Quickie Burger, but then he also had the Stuffed Surfer on the peninsula, and that was in the early 80s. And as I got a little older, and I don't know if I was any wiser, but I actually would run the Stuffed Surfer as a young person
right.
On the boardwalk in Newport down there, and I would run that restaurant during the summertime, and he would be running the Quickie Burger.
Wow.
And so I learned fast, made some mistakes, it was tough, leading people that were much older than I was, and getting them to take you seriously. But I really was pretty much a serious kind of person anyway, and tried to be a good leader and just be in charge. Probably at the time, it wasn't so much being a leader, it was being in charge, trying to be in charge, and do the right thing. And our grandfather was very clear on how things needed to be done, so I knew what needed to be done.
Yeah, what's interesting about that, because I know where that plays out later in your life, but where do you think that came from? Did that come from parenting, or do you think it came from sports, or something you read somewhere, or a movie? Where did that early leadership come from? Because that's really what it is.
I got to tell you that a couple things, and I was definitely playing Little League and soccer, and those kind of things really do help you as a team and learn teamwork and leadership. And the other thing is, our father was, he had us working. We didn't have a lot of extra money, so when he was working, when he wasn't working, he was working. I remember doing landscaping with him and digging post holes for fences and planting plants and everything on the weekend. I remember having a paper route, and I don't even know if kids today do paper routes, but I remember having 2 paper routes to raise money for myself, because if I was going to have any extra money, we had to raise it. And the collecting of cans that we used to do. And all that stuff. And we just, money wasn't something that was given away around the house back then, as you know, Jim. Mm-hmm. We had to go out and earn it. And I'll tell you a funny story is one day I was in the executive VP meeting, and we started talking about jobs when we were young, and all of us had paper routes in the room. It was amazing.
Yeah, I should have a little bell ding when somebody says that they had a paper route, because there has been survey after survey done that successful entrepreneurs typically had a job when they were young in life, between that 5 and 10. Most of them were paper routes, some were lemonade stands, but it creates that early entrepreneurial spirit. And it's funny that you said that about how many people are in your VP meeting typically?
There was 6 of us.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, and we all had paper routes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, amazing. I loved it. I just thought that was special.
Yeah, I have a soft heart for kids that are out working, lemonade stands. I will not pass a lemonade stand and not stop and give to that cause. Right. I did one recently by the house. I gave the kid $20. I said, just pay it forward. I don't need any lemonade right now. But I think that is something to encourage kids to do.
Yes.
If it's in their heart to be entrepreneurial.
I'll tell you something else funny is I remember in the neighborhood, I was the babysitter, and I was embarrassed to share that with my friends that at school, the kids in the neighborhood knew.
Yeah.
But I remember getting kind of my feelings hurt when one of the girls in the neighborhood, her name was Paula Johannesson, and all of a sudden she started babysitting, and some of the kids liked her better because there was a bunch of little girls the little girls across the street from our house I would babysit, and I remember they liked Paula better, and it was like, oh man, that's going to hurt my wallet.
Competition at an early age.
Exactly.
So you're working for your our grandfather, and all of a sudden you find yourself in charge of a restaurant. I think the Stuffed Surfer had 5 to 10 employees over there.
Yeah, basically in the summertime it was probably about 6 people working, and it was pretty chaotic. It was a lot like an In-N-Out Burger in a sense that it was extremely busy. And you can imagine if you're at the beach and you're on the peninsula between Balboa and Newport Pier and you're sunning, out at the beach having a good time, there's not too many places to eat. And we are smack dab in the middle. So our lunch was amazing.
Yeah, it really was. What do you remember as being challenging in that role? Because, you're over there on your own running the store. I seem to remember you counting money at the end of the day, opening up the doors in the morning and having all this responsibility. I mean, you're literally 13, 14.
Yeah, I was, when I was actually running that place, I want to say I was probably started doing that at 15 or 16. I can't remember exactly, but I just remembered that I took it very seriously, and I was afraid to do something wrong, not because our grandfather was tough on us or anything, but I actually just wanted to make him happy, and I wanted to do a good job for him, and so I took everything very seriously. I was very I don't even know at that age if you're professional, but I was sure was trying.
You put on that hat as well as you could.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that Jack taught you, maybe that stick today? You know,